fair isle nothing is all over Europe and everywhere, so it could have really come from anywhere. I was taught on it when I was 4. Pocket stayed next door to us, and the way I learned to make fair ale was my mom would be sitting making, and I would be sitting on a stool down at her feet, and she would be looking in over my shoulder and she would say, "Now, that's 3 blue and 1 white and 3 blue and 2 white and 1 blue," until I realised what the pattern was going to be. And then once that I was learned fair ale and could do moderate knitting, I made pretty mittens for one of the shops in Merwick. And she used to sell them. I was at school. I was knitting for all my own clothes before I left the school. It's when you come up about maybe 12 and that you were looking in the catalogues and saying, "I like that. You can have them if they match them, worth them." And I did. After I left the school, then I was just more or less knitting until the lass from next door. She was married in Lerwick, they had a shop. And I was 16 and she wanted me to come do my good and wrote there. And was delighted to get away if you sat and knitting all the time. But I was only there for a couple of years, I think it was, and then all the boys was away and father said no, I would have to come home. My mother was lonely. He can't the buttons to push. So I left and came home to do more knitting, of course. And that was just it's the only way you had to earn it when you were at home. It was just kind of taken for granted that you would do it. I wouldn't mind hearing the word of what I made in the last 80 years, lying on the floor there. B and me would go to the Bahamas for a holiday. My dad, he was one of the old school. He didn't believe in educating lasses. He said they should marry and have youngsters and then that's to finish his work. So I wasn't allowed onto the school and I'd love to have been a teacher, but that didn't happen. Well, that was been in 1973. That's when everybody and most folk got machines. They would put out finishing nooses to the women. You could make far more money that way as you could with sitting down making a fair isle jumper, which seemed a shame in a way. So they thought that this fair isle was going to be dying out if they didn't, the parents wasn't seeing their mum doing it. There one day the headmaster sent for me to come over to the school and I didn't know what he wanted and I good. He says, "Do see the advert, it's the Times. They're wanting somebody to teach fair isle in the schools. Why doesn't you apply?" I says, "But I cannot teach him, no." "Do can do it," he says. "Do apply." So I did. And I was obviously the only one that did, because when the man that was in charge of the education at that time phoned the Tommy here, he said he was sent this letter for your wife in Burrabo. Did he ken what it was? "Yes," Tommy says, "I ken what it is. I set it up." So I didn't even have an interview. I just got the job and that was that. That was in 1973. The loveliest job that I ever had. I just loved it. Once a week I was in. First of all, I just got the top primary lasses. That would have been 4, 5, 6 and 7. The thing that surprised me when I got in there was that they all knew the English terms for the knitting, but there were very few of them that kent the Shetland terms for it. So I started with them, with all the Shetland terms for what they were doing. Well, I couldn't have had them doing a Shetland craft and no ken and it was amazing. Because up to then, everybody had to speak English at the school. If you spoke Shetland to the teacher, he wouldn't answer you. And that's what we started on, was all the knitting terms. And they all took to it, just nobody, they loved it. After a year or two, then they decided that I would get the boys too. I thought, uh-oh, there'll be some fun here. Because at that time, nothing wasn't a boys thing at all. It wasn't cool. I couldn't have been more wrong. I had 3 boys to begin with for one term before they got to Medial. And they just loved it. And they were took to it like a duck to water. I just looked forward to the day that I would go in among them. It was lovely. One of the things that I did with them all was dags, the fingerless lifts, because that got ribs and nothing round about with the 3 wears and the Fair Isle as well. So that gave them the whole lot. And it was something that they could keep and wear. There were one child that got through my hands from 73 to 99 that I didn't manage to get to make right Fair Isle. Just the one. It was hard work afternoon, but I wouldn't have changed it for anything. It was lovely. It was just so great to be in among the bairns and speaking with them. And I did all old words with them. Once we were getting all the knitting terms done, then we get on to the weather and like the different things, you know, so there were old words for it they didn't ken. And we just had a wonderful time. But I was very, very disappointed when they took it out of the school. Because a Shetland craft, I mean, whatever would you do with the head of the school? I was very disappointed. I don't likely saving money, I suppose. I don't know. Must have been. That's a shame. But there's some means it's been out with the school, like it's been trying to work with the bairns. If I'd been younger by the head, I would have done that myself. Because it wasn't the bairns wasn't interested, for they were. Alec Tulloch, he was there for the Specsavers, says no, and he was the one that God was putting in to the schools in 73, because he had the shop there and he kent what was coming into it, and he saw there weren't so many Fair Isles coming in, and he was feared that it was going to die out because the machines was 10 hour and folk was grafting, and so it was him, he wanted the nothing in the schools to try and keep it going, because he was feared that the Fair Isle died out. But I don't think it'll die out. It's always been something that Shetland has been camped for, all my minding of it. I mean, nothing is the in thing at the moment in America as well as here. It's really been going on for a while, and everybody seems to be interested in it. We did a lesson here, and there were 2 women that came from America, and another one came from Dubai, just for the knitting thing that we ran for 30 days that we had it here. Me and the other lass North that did the knitting after I left. It was amazing. So this wool week is sort of 10 hours for that, and it's gotten bigger and bigger every year apparently. I would have thought that the like of that should have been enough till I tell them that they were needing to keep it going in the schools. But I do not think it's going to die out. No way.
Baby Mary Henderson lay sleeping in a stook. A lissy shawl about her hat, 'twas this the Erin took. O'er the sea to Fettler Isle the sea eagle did flap. Its talons hadn't tied the babe for fear it might drop. Where blessings are about twist we canna see but wane.